While the opening, body close, OBC, and inverted pyramid structural models are generalized approach to structuring content, there are other more specialized ways or more proprietary ways of actually structuring documents to create specific purpose cases. So let's take a look at some of these other structures very quickly. Problem solving or the reporting of recommendatory solutions to problems involves a certain structure, and this will may be useful to you even while you do your BBA, because typically this problem solving structure can also be applied to the case method. So if you're trying to analyze a case, you can actually use the structure of this, and you may be able to see this on your screen, is what I call a problem solving case report structure. And it consists of about 6, some are 9-step and some are 6-step frameworks, but in its simplest form, a 6-step structure which talks about a situational analysis, establishing the background, and then using that background to define what the problem is, the second stage, structural analysis, problem. And then we look at criteria and constraints. So while we have established a certain backdrop and we've said here is the problem, we now have to define the measures and limitations within which we operate. Every problem will have solutions, but the solutions need to be reasonable, they need to be effective, they need to be bounded, they cannot be trivial, and so on and so forth. So at some point in time, you will say, we will choose the option that actually generates the highest rate of return, or we will choose the option which results in the maximum number of inquiries. You have to set up some kind of measures to actually get the options evaluated, and you have to set up the constraints which says these things are not allowed. For instance, if you were talking about increasing the sales of alcohol, one constraint is that you cannot advertise. So you cannot come up with a solution which says advertise the product, because the law forbids the advertising of alcohol products. So that's a constraint. So situational analysis, problem, criteria and constraints, and then based on which you actually generate various options. You evaluate those options in the next step, and based on that and coming out as part of that, as a result of that evaluation, is the recommendations that you make. So this is a very classical structure that is used to analyze and report a problem-solving kind of situation, be it in the classroom or even in real life. Start with the background, define the problem, establish the criteria and constraints, list the options, evaluate them against the criteria and constraints, and then come up with your recommendation. This is a very useful framework for you to use. In the previous segment, we talked about the inverted pyramid structure and the fact that we put the conclusion at the top and then move down. I'd like to tell you about a very interesting adaptation and enhancement of this inverted pyramid technique, which was actually created by a lady by the name of Barbara Minto, who worked for McKinsey and Company. And she came up with what is known as the Minto pyramid principle, okay, of how to organize reports, documents. She worked for McKinsey, and McKinsey adopted the Minto pyramid principle, or the principles, because it goes way beyond just structure. It goes into logic, content, and all kinds of best-selling book in the United States. And it can be used for all kinds of business documents, okay? So let's take a very, iceberg kind of, the 2% above the water level look at the Minto pyramid. So in the classical inverted pyramid style, it starts at the top by stating the conclusion, the recommendation, the outcome, the solution, and so on and so forth. And then think of the pyramid. So there's this piece at the top, and at the next level in the pyramid are the major arguments that support the recommendation. So you have the recommendation at the top or the conclusion at the top and say, because of A, B, C, D. I'll show you an example to make this clear, but for the moment, understand that there is the core message at the top and there are the major supporting arguments at the next level. And then at the next level, the third level, you could provide subsidiary argument, data, evidence that actually help to build the support at the second level. So very simple. It's a inverted pyramid structure in that sense, and it actually talks about the conclusion, supporting main points, and then subsidiary points, evidence, sub-arguments, and other detail at the third level. We will come across the Minto pyramid once again when we talk about presentation, but this is pretty much what you need to know at the moment. To make that a little clearer, you should be able to look at this visual, which talks about the core message at the top, argument 1, argument 2, argument 3, argument 4, argument 5, and then support 1, 2, 3, 4. This is how this structure looks. Now, the moment you have this, you can tell what your business document is going to look like. If you can put this structure and outline in place, you're halfway to creating a business document, which is extremely logical, flows well, and is effective. So, taking this one step forward, I had created a real-life kind of Minto pyramid argument structure to actually talk about why Germany won the World Cup of football some years ago. And it says very clearly, Germany was the best team. That's the thing. They won the World Cup because they were the best team. And why were they the best team? A, B, C, D, E. You can look at all the arguments, which says, gives you a variety of reasons as to why Germany won the World Cup of football by virtue of their being the best team. And then at the next level, you got specific details and examples and arguments to support why they were there, okay? Why that major argument is actually done. For instance, if you look at the coach, the major argument, they say the coach was a critical factor in determining the success of Germany, and then they've got some boxes to support who the coach was and what he did in order to help the team win. Now, it's a very simple example. Those of you who are football fans will appreciate it, and those of you who are not, I hope it still makes sense to you in outlining what the Minto pyramid principle structure looks like. It's very easy, and we don't need to get into the details, but if you can even start to apply this, we'll be in great shape. So much for the Minto pyramid principle. There are other frameworks, and some of these will be useful in different situations. One is called the STAR framework. Its acronym STAR is S-T-A-R, and that stands for situation, task, action, result. Okay? Situation, task, action, result. Okay, and this again is used in academic situations a lot. It's used in job interview situations. You can apply it when you make your next hire. And you can use it in a variety of communication scenarios to provide clear and concise narrative. So the moment you have a framework in your mind, and we're going to be looking at a number of such structures over the next few sessions, think structure. When somebody throws a communication request at you, the best thing to do is to get organized and put a structure onto it, and then you're rolling, okay? So similarly, very similar to the STAR framework is what we call the SBO framework. Or SBO is situation, behavior, outcome. Sounds much the same. But it now suddenly starts giving you a nice way to summarize a situation and its impact based on the actions that you took, rather than waffling all over the place and like spaghetti or Maggi noodles. It's impossible for the listener or the receiver to actually figure out. Structuring helps you get there. So there are many other ways, and what we've looked at in the last few minutes is that there are many ways to efficiently structure the content of a business document, okay? In some cases, you will find that the structure is given to you, okay? Stock exchanges, for instance, specify the structure and contents of a red herring proposal that you need when you go IPO. Or different bodies and different companies have, for instance, some companies will tell you how to write the proposal for the supply of equipment, goods, or services. Nowadays, with e-tendering and e-proposing and so on and so forth, the structure is already specified on the website and you are required to adhere to it. But in other cases, you can apply the structures that you have learned now to your advantage and to make your business more effective, okay? Later on, we are also going to talk about an approach called the direct or the indirect approach, which is another way of helping you to determine structure and flow of a business message. In this context, I'd like you to read a write-up that I have prepared. It's called Content Structures in Business Writing. It's a short piece of text that will actually reinforce the learnings during this segment.